already a little bit about what's going to be shared in this next session. But Jacqui is a long-time supporter and ecosystem builder of the startup and impact space. She's a serial impact startup founder, an incredible advocate for B corporations. So ask her anything about B corporations if you're curious about the B Corp movement, so Benefit Corporation. And she's also a filmmaker. So she's had years of experience actually documenting the stories of change makers out in the field. And she's been using storytelling as a tool for systems change over the last couple of years, and doing this through her work with BS Story and the previous startups that she's founded as well. She's a Forbes 30 Under 30 and a selected nominee for the EY Entrepreneur of the Year 2020, and a badass woman. So Jacqui, over to you. I think you should have co-hosting rights, so feel free to kick off this workshop whenever you're ready and take it away.
Amazing. Hi, everybody. How's everyone feeling? Online Zooms are like very draining, so we need to like lift up some energy. I want to kick off with this slide. Can you guys all see my screen? Give me a high five. I've got it in gallery view, so I'm virtually seeing all of you at the same time. Okay, this is a spreadsheet that my geeky hubby made, and it's how many weeks you have of your life. So I strongly recommend, if any of you want to try this, I do it every time I do a workshop. It's just a cheeky little tool for you guys to be able to actually see how many days you have ahead of you. So if I drop this link in there, it's a nice little reminder that if we're going to sit together for an hour, that time is really precious. So I just dropped it in the chat so you guys can have a look. And it just shows how much that I value the time that we're going to be spending together. So thank you so much, everyone. There is so much I want to get through because storytelling is a hugely important topic for entrepreneurship and building companies. I'm going to try and keep this as high level and overview as much as possible. So your brain might be a bit sleepy in an hour, but if there's anything missing, you can feel free to hit me up. And we're going to do a lot of experiments and kind of a co-creative process of how we can do this. So I'll kick off. So yeah, as Steffi said, I'm a filmmaker. So I spent many of my years sailing around the world. Trying to
also keep in mind for the 3 p.m. thingy.
Oh, sorry, I just need to mute everybody. Maybe Marsha can mute the other people.
Got you. Yeah.
So yes, I spent my life kind of traveling around the world doing documentaries on social and environmental issues. And it took me pretty much to every corner of the globe, documenting climate change solutions and plastic pollution and building hospitals in Papua New Guinea, like a lot of different stories. And the one thing I learned is that we have the solutions for literally everything. Like any global goal in the world, there is a social entrepreneur or there is a business person out there that is solving this problem through their companies. And nothing, oops, I don't know. I can't share the slide, but you guys are the proof of this. Nothing is higher evidence that we have the solutions already than this room full of entrepreneurs that have incredible solutions for the world. So that's why we're here today. My purpose in life is to give you guys visibility, right? Like if we have the solutions already, why are we still having so many problems? And the problem is that these solutions don't have scale yet. We need to grow and nurture these ideas and connect them and collaborate across the world. And so that's what I did. So working with the world's like biggest companies, I tried to find that bridge between these massive global supply chains and these small little social entrepreneurs. How can we connect them? How can we collaborate? And as my skills as a documentary filmmaker, how can we use storytelling to create these kind of B2B partnerships and these collaborations across the world, and ultimately give visibility to all of you incredible visionaries, as I like to call them. So that's kind of why I'm here and why I'm running this workshop. Like I said, I'm a filmmaker, so I'm a little bit biased towards video as a key tool. But as you guys probably know, video is actually the most internet traffic in the world right now. So pretty much everything you do is leaning towards video. So if you're not comfortable with that as a medium in your storytelling, it's something that I'm super passionate about and I would love to share more about. I'll give you a little bit of an overview. So to kick off the session, I want to start with an intention, okay? So for me, it's really about the importance of storytelling. If you forget everything else I mentioned today, I just want you to remember how important storytelling is for you as a founder and for your company. And hopefully I can give you a bit of an overview of what strategy and tactics and tools that you guys can use that you can actually implement, hopefully today. Okay, so that's a little bit of an introduction. I'll just quickly run through my agenda. So first, I want to get everyone to share a little bit about how they feel about storytelling. Then we're going to dive deeper into how storytelling impacts your entire business. Lastly, I've got a handbook for everybody that you guys can already start playing around with. So those of you that are really keen and want to jump into it and start applying some of the things I'm talking about, you'll be able to do that. And then lastly, I have a super fun, happy time storytelling assessment, which is basically quite a long form, an assessment. But if you guys fill that out, what it gives me is a really good understanding of where you're at with storytelling and where you might need help. And if we can do this, we will be able to get like a really nice picture about where everyone's at. So I'm going to be sharing a lot of links. Hopefully everything works technically. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to jump into the chat or unmute yourself and just ask away. So I'm going to start off with the how do we feel about storytelling sheet. So what we've got here is this team notes. It's a Google Doc, and every page you'll see I've left a space for company logo. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share this in the group chat. And for those of you that would like to copy and just add your page, one second, let me just share it with you. Click on that link and you should be able to add your own page and you can copy it into this master here. So if anyone wants to go through and add it. Whoops, I'm saying to everyone, let's see. Okay, there we go. So for everyone, you can see a link there. Jump onto a page, type your name up in the top left corner. And what I want you to start thinking about is, first of all, what do you enjoy most about storytelling? What makes you have fun? What is exciting? What do you get access to? People saying access denied. It should be in a folder, but let me just make sure it's not restricted. Oops. Anyone with the link? And now edit. Great, let me refresh. Sorry, guys. So what is the first one is like, yeah, what is most fun? How, what do you enjoy doing? Maybe like photography, maybe like video, maybe like strategy. Or it could be pride. Like, what are you most proud of? What are you brilliant at? Maybe you're an amazing public speaker. Another one could be performance. So how does storytelling help impact your business? And the last one is purpose. How do you see storytelling as really having, giving your company support in your impact and with your purpose? So what I want to do is just quickly, everyone can have a little breakout room, one-on-one, and we can see, pick a page, any page, and just dump one of the ideas. You don't have to fill everything out. It's just a little bit of an icebreaker to talk about how you love storytelling and how we can connect with everybody. So Mata, I can do the breakout room, or if you want to help me figure that out.
Actually, I cannot because I need to be granted a host, but Songy can.
Yeah. How many people do you want?
One-on-one, if possible. And if you're lonely, you can come back to the main room.
All right. Let me see.
So just share with your partner what is one of those 4 Ps. You can pick one and share with your partner.
Sorry, my computer is quite slow. I will just gonna do random breakout automatically. So might be all our teams might go in there as well.
No worries.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And Jacqui, just as if there are any clarifying questions about this activity, feel free to add it into the chat or ask Jacqui now. In terms of adding a favorite story, Jacqui, should folks add their favorite story about their startup, about their organization, or generally any favorite story that's resonated with them?
This document is going to live here for a long time, so you guys can update this later. You can go back and browse through other people's answers, so you don't have to fill it out right away. But if you want to start filling out some things for the type A students, if you want to add your favorite video, feel free. But for now, I'd just love you to meet one other person and learn how they think about storytelling. What are their skills? Maybe you find someone that's really passionate about video and your company needs a video. Or maybe you find someone that's really passionate about using storytelling for their business. So it's just like a nice little icebreaker to connect with how you're currently using storytelling.
By the way, Martha, I made you a host because I made a mistake there. So you can now do the breakout room automatically. So I did it manually, and then it's just giving me a lot of different options.
It doesn't actually matter, guys. What we can do is I'll just pick someone maybe that wants to share. Is there anyone that wants to share with the whole group now? Like, what is their favorite part of storytelling? What makes them the most, what gives them pleasure, and what do they have fun doing with storytelling?
Hi, Tol.
Hey, Monica.
Hi. Yeah. I would say that storytelling is just how I understand the world. I understand it through stories, and I think stories is what connects people, you know, from the days we started as human beings. And when I tell a story, when it comes to my business or my life, it's very important to be relatable. So I love seeing sparks or humility or connection in the eyes of another human. And I guess if you start with a story, it somehow weaves into your product. So your client actually somehow is part of your story and of your purpose without even pinging it or actually naming it. So I would say connection, it's the best part of storytelling to me.
I love that. Our vision is a connected and collaborative world. So I relate to that so much. Who would like to share about how storytelling has helped them with the performance of their business? We'll just pick one other person who wants to share. Is there any experts in storytelling here? Simon.
Hey, Jackie, thank you. Well, I'm not an expert in storytelling, but we've only done a couple of little things for my business, but it's been super, super impactful. And we've got to pull a thumb out of our ass and do more of it.
Amazing, amazing. So like I said, guys, this sheet will live here. This is for you to play with. You can add your own page, add your own logo, and then later on, if other people, what hopefully we might have is 100 of everyone's favorite stories that we can all sharing and having a look at. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. Careful, Mike.
Jackie, your mic is off right now.
I got muted too. Everyone got muted. Thanks, guys. Okay, so we're going to jump into the next one. I want to describe or change maybe the way that you're thinking. Some of you guys might have heard me say this before, but I want to introduce storytelling in perhaps a new way than you've thought of it. A lot of people, when they think of storytelling, they think of marketing, right? But what I want to think is like, actually, how can you integrate it across every layer of your business? So the framework that we use, we split it into 4 different groups. So the first one is looking internally as your team, as a founder. In the culture lesson just before, we heard like that team conflict is one of the biggest reasons for companies failing, right? So storytelling is really, really important to talk about culture and to connect with your team, right? That connection piece. The second layer, I call it closed because it happens behind the closed doors. That might be with your investor, or it might be with the government, or these kind of private relationships that are super, super important to engage with storytelling and reporting, right? The next one, the external audience, that's the big one. That's your customers. That's the people that you're really targeting to help build and grow your business. And the last piece, a lot of people forget about this. That's your wider ecosystem, right? That's where you're participating. You might not even be telling the stories in this area. That might be someone else talking about you. Imagine if you didn't have to invest in any marketing team because all of your ecosystem was talking about you and sharing about you. So this is a really powerful aspect of storytelling that I would love everyone in the Impact Collective to start thinking about and start drafting. So we're going to refer to this framework a lot for this hour. So if any of you guys don't understand these 4 sections, feel free to hit me up. I'm also going to give you a bit of a cheat sheet in a minute so that it will take you through it. Okay? So one of the most complicated things is because people separate marketing from their internal storytelling, to the events that they attend, is very often you'll have different stories being told by different people, and it can be confusing, and you can have a misalignment with the brand's reputation and how things link. So it's really, really important to make sure that your vision, the purpose, the mission of why you exist is spread across every aspect of your business. The way you talk about your purpose to your team should also be the same feeling and emotions for the way you're talking about purpose with your wider ecosystem. But you can just adapt the language for all of the different ways that you're speaking. So this is the kind of framework that I want to help introduce to you guys here. And I'll run you through a couple of frameworks that we can jump into it. So again, if you guys have your phone, you can go onto your screen and scan this little QR code. I want you guys to help me answer this question, which is, dun, 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 dun. Did you guys have that? Have you guys all scanned this QR code? If you haven't, quickly lift up your phone and scan the screen. Or if you're on your computer, you can type into menti.com and enter the code. What we're going to be seeing is what is most important to you right now. So is it keeping your team inspired? Is it keeping your customers happy? Is it keeping your stakeholders happy? Okay, we have one, it's keeping the team inspired. What about for everybody else? Is it building your brand reputation? There we go, we've got a couple people there. So this kind of really shows how storytelling is actually important for lots of different angles of the business. I'm really curious to see, this is actually really even. Normally you have a big disparity. A lot of people focus on the customers in the beginning, getting more. Who has bets on what's gonna win? It's like a horse race, see which one is gonna come first. Wow, keeping team inspired is number one. That's super interesting. Lucky we had that culture session just before. Oh, brand's reputation. Okay, my vote is going to be on team inspired. Let's see. But it's actually pretty impressive that there's still quite a lot. Obviously, maybe people don't have many partners and stakeholders yet, being so early in the game, so maybe that's less important. I'll be really interested to show you why that might be more important than you guys realize. So this is just to show like the different areas and to get an idea about where everyone's coming from. Feel free, you can keep answering that, and I'll share the results with everybody afterwards, and maybe we can have share with each other about what we can do. Okay, so this is where I want you guys to actually to be able to make some friends and partners, right? Because if you're struggling with the same issues, together collectively you can start forming alliances to start supporting each other and start helping each other. So what we're going to do later is we're going to come back to this slide, and you can actually start putting your team names and grouping together to see where you can link and how we can find different partnerships. Okay? Before we do that, I'm going to jump straight into the handbook so you guys can all make a copy of this. So this one, hopefully this link should work. Let me just copy it for you if I can. Oops. There we go. Okay, so I will share this with everybody. Okay. If you don't have access, let me know. So this is the handbook that I'm going to run through. Then I'll take you through page by page some of the frameworks that we use. Still need access? Oh no. I must have given access to the wrong folder before. Sorry, guys. Okay. Refresh. Try that again, guys. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Azila and Pankaj. Got it working, guys? Give me a high five. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Got a high five. Okay, awesome. Yeah, make a copy. Yeah, so Kelvin, yes, you can make a copy of this booklet so that everyone can have their own copy. So you can fill it out, take notes of it, steal it, use it again, run this workshop for someone else. Go nuts. Okay. I see some people high five. Just making sure again it's working. Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay. So number one, most important part of storytelling is that people will forget everything about you except how you make them feel. They will forget about your product. They will forget about your brand. They will forget about your company. They'll forget about everything. But if you blow them away when they hear your story and they feel inspired, they feel sentimental, they feel nostalgic, they will never ever forget you. So it's really, really important whenever you're doing storytelling to first try and connect how it makes you feel. Because if you're inspired, if you're crying, if you're super excited and happy, it's very likely that other people hearing that story will feel that too. So that's probably one of the golden rules, right? So a trick for that is when you're thinking about your vision, how can you make it really unforgettable? Is it easy to understand? Is it uplifting? And is it urgent? Adding a sense of time and urgency is really great to improve, like speed up that call to action. Okay, so connecting with your purpose, really try to think about how your audience makes it feel. So as part of your handbook, some of you should already have your vision and your mission, and you should know what your purpose is. But if you don't, I want you to do this exercise of really writing out what is your vision, writing out what is your mission, and really thinking about how it makes you feel, okay? So I've added a couple of examples that you guys can go and check out. These are just my favorites. So if you think about Patagonia, they don't talk about their products. They're really talking about their purpose, about overconsumption and really standing for a higher brand. This is my favorite phone. People think that these guys pay me sometimes because I talk about them in every workshop, and I absolutely love them, but it's a phone that's ending slavery, and it's an incredible product that really talks about slavery as their key value proposition. They're not talking about the best mobile phone out there. And of course, Thank You in Australia, again, is one of my favorite brands, where they built their entire brand through their community rather than through their marketing channels. So these, I'm just going to spin through a couple of really interesting examples of mission-driven companies and purpose-driven companies that had incredible results just through getting really refined vision and mission and purpose, okay? So making sure that you move away from product marketing. Oftentimes, especially if you're a startup founder, you're so obsessed by your product because you put so much work into it, you forget about your purpose. So it's a good reminder to think about how can you put your purpose at the core of what the story is you're trying to share. Okay, so in your workbook, you don't have to do this now, but it's a blank page here. Write out what your mission and vision and purpose is. And now actually sit and how does it make you feel? Like how does it sit with you? Does it resonate with you? Does it inspire you? And see if you can do that practice and exercise a couple of times to see if you can get it even more emotional and improve it, and test it with your friends and your family and see if you can actually refine this and do this a few times until you have something that's super powerful. This is important because everything else I talk about will depend on this core kind of anchor story, I like to call it, like that key kind of vision. Okay, so any questions on the vision and mission? No, I will continue. So the next part, like once you've really tapped in that vision, which you guys will be working on, I guess, over the next 10 weeks to really refine, is like, how do you start creating stories, right? The number one question, which drives me crazy every time I'm doing any kind of storytelling workshop or trying to support an entrepreneur, they always ask me, but I can't make video. What camera do I use? And it is my least favorite question, because the best camera is the one that is in your hand. All of you guys are making videos right now. You're recording your screen. Okay, so everyone has the capability to tell video stories through the devices that they have available in their pocket or on their computer. In terms of software, just some practical tips and advice. There's 2 software that I would recommend all of you guys can go and check out. WeVideo is an editing software that you can edit your videos in the cloud. So it means that you don't have to buy any software. You can just get a subscription, or you can trial it for a week or 2 to test and see how to do some video editing. And video editing, although people get really scared off by it, it's actually really simple. It's basically just these different layers, an interview, maybe some music, maybe some footage, putting it all together and being able to create content. Now, if again, you're worried about not having any footage, you don't have any material, you don't have a camera, there's a software called Loom, which records your screen. So again, this is a handbook so that you can go and play and test with some of these ideas that resonate. But Loom has been a game changer for a lot of the companies that we collaborate with, because now instead of having the staff meetings every day that are really boring and people don't want to join, you can have the CEO recording themselves on Loom, guiding them through the onboarding, inspiring the team every day, sending these videos out for people to watch. So it's a really great and hopefully nifty little tool. And if you combine that with WeVideo and start adding music and editing, you can actually become a cool little production house by yourself. Okay. For free or paid softwares, so Loom, they both have free options. WeVideo, it depends on your startup. They do a lot of partnerships with nonprofits and with educational platforms, but they're both like, I think it's like under $4 a month. So even if you want to do the paid subscription as well. Again, I'm not endorsing any platform. I'm platform agnostic. I use every editing platform. So feel free if you find something else. The concept of video editing is the same no matter what tools you're using. So feel free to ping me on that anytime as well. Okay. The next level of storytelling, once you understand a little bit about how to throw things together, is thinking about the sections of your story. So let's say you want to share a story with your team to inspire them on a Monday morning after a really difficult month. Maybe you lost your biggest client because of COVID, right? And now you need to re-energize the sales team to get up and get back out there and go again, right? Every kind of story will work best when you split it into different sections. So for those of you that are just starting out, I would recommend thinking of the 3 sections of your story. The beginning, which is like setting up that scene, that challenge, that crisis. You can see the little dinosaur here at the top, that climax, and then that resolution at the end. Now, it seems really simple, but this works for literally everything from your impact reporting to a staff update to maybe a commercial that you want to make for your product. And so this is a really fun little activity where you can think of a story that you want to share and write what kind of footage you might need, what kind of angle could you have, and then lastly, like what kind of music could you select? And now magically you have all of those layers that you need to create your own content as well. So storytelling sometimes seems complicated, but it's actually not too difficult. Now, for those of you asking about paid or free, again, this resource is supposed to be helpful for you guys. So I've added a couple of links to some places where you can get free footage and also free music. So you don't even have to pay for music. You don't even have to pay for footage. There's amazing stock footage libraries out there where you can start making little snippet videos every day with fun little explosions and waterfalls and stuff like that. So it's actually super fun to get started looking at this. Okay. I will keep rattling on. If any of you guys want to ask any questions, feel free to hit me up. But I want to share as much knowledge as possible because I think it's super exciting for you guys to actually start playing with this. But one of the things with storytelling is that people often think of, oh, I have one customer, this is what I need to share. But actually, there's a whole range of time for which that engagement could start, right? So there's one that before the customer even knows about you, there's when you're onboarding that customer and you're welcoming them and you're getting them super excited. There's during the process of working with them, and then there's afterwards. Maybe they left, maybe they're unhappy with your service. So actually this is a really nice exercise to start mapping out different customers and thinking about that whole process and what is the kind of stories that you could share at each of these different phases. I'm going to pick up a couple of questions. For animated videos, I can send a bunch of links. I will copy that and write it down. It's just a little bit more complicated or expensive. The best thing for animation videos that I would recommend is actually going onto a platform like Upwork, where there's incredibly talented freelancers that if you give them a simple script of like, this is what I want to create, some amazing guy in Slovakia might within 24 hours be able to create this beautiful artistic animation for you. So like any of these crowd platforms, it's a hit and miss. Even Fiverr can sometimes create really cool animated videos for $5 or so. But animation can become expensive if you're doing it any kind of complex and in-depth ones. What you should do, it's like not typical hero story art. I will get to that. I'm super excited about the other ways of the story arc, but let's start with the basics first. Subscription-based. How can we reward happy customers to become brand advocates? Okay, I will keep going. How can we reward happy customers to become our brand advocates and telling stories? Both of those links actually from, both of these questions are leading up to the next couple of slides, so I will answer that in a second. Okay, I copied this from Ben because I just thought that it was really cool, that slide that he had about how he had already been planning that little script for when people leave. I thought that that was such a great example of storytelling, right? Like he'd already set it up that if there was a bug on his website, he was instantly telling the customer a story that, hey, I'm here and I'm fixing it, which makes him a really human-centered brand, gives a lot of empathy for that person, and how are they gonna feel? Now they're gonna feel like, wow, this guy really cares about me because I got this message like straight away when I had an error. That is like genius storytelling. So I quickly copied that, put that in here because I think it's a great lesson for you guys. And as part of this handbook, you could actually have a think. If you lost your biggest customer, or you lost your investor pulled out, or your co-founder quit, like what are the kinds of scenarios where storytelling could be really important to re-engage and re-inspire your partner, or to bring back your investor and say, you're crazy, you're missing out on an opportunity of a lifetime, you know, like these kinds of things. So I thought that that was a really good example that we could share. I love all of the comments that are coming through of the different software like Doodly and OpenShot and stuff like that. What we can do is in that document that we've shared, that kind of brain dump, it would be great if you want to add in there like, hey, this is what I use for storytelling tools. Like, let's use this as a collective impact place where we can all share our different ideas and our collective genius. So I will copy some of these comments over and bring them over there. Yeah. Okay, impact story perspective. So this one is really important for those of you when you're talking about social impact and human stories, how much the perspectives can shift depending on the angle of the story you're coming from. I'm using the beautiful photography of my friend Jay. He has a whole series called So I Asked Them to Smile. And he goes around and he takes these photographs of very kind of serious looking people. And then he asks them to smile, and this entire human warmth just radiates out of the different characters that he sees around the world. And I think it just highlights how important perspective really is. For those of you that have already copied the slides, you'll be able to click on this link and watch this little video. It's like a 1986 commercial for The Guardian, which is the news platform, talking about how the different perspectives can completely shape the way that you're interpreting what's going on, right? And as a storyteller, it's like with your great responsibility to make sure that you're making ethical decisions, but you're also remaining authentic, right? So being aware of things like, for example, having children in your story, right? Do you want to have children in your story? What is your policy on ethics with using children within your impact storytelling? And if you do decide you want to have children in your video, what is the eye level? Are you looking down on them, or are you coming down to meet them at their eye level to really empower the people that you're featuring? I think these kinds of things are really important because the perspective that you visually see people in different places can really, really change the impact of your story, right? I think the era of guilting people into donating money and saying, oh, look at this poor child, we have to help them, is really over. And now it's much more about what an incredible opportunity we have to, and this resource we have to be able to work with people from all walks of life. So I think perspective is something really, really important for those of you that are going to go off and start sharing stories. Cool. Another thing which some of you guys would already be familiar with is this SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. A lot of you have probably already started having a look at your impact assessment and trying to think about how to measure your impact. For those of you that haven't gone too deep into that, I really recommend reading some of the global goals and some of the indicators and starting to think how they link back to your business. I just pulled out these just randomly. I was looking to try for this workshop. What are some examples of, let's say you're a tech company and you don't have as much of a focus as impact as, let's say, a social enterprise that's working with smallholder farmers, right? It's a bit more difficult for you to be able to measure and tangibly show the impact that you have. But when you see the kind of indicators, for example, increasing productivity through technological upgrading and innovation, this is something that I think a lot of tech startup companies can relate to and connect with. So finding ways to link everything you're doing back to these global frameworks like the SDGs gives you a lot of ammunition of stories that you can potentially share and kind of fill up your content calendar and communications with all of these great ideas. You know, upgrading technologically capabilities of industrial sectors. People don't think of these kinds of indicators a lot of the time. They're thinking of, oh, how many lives am I impacting? You know, what am I doing on the ground? But actually there's a lot in the Sustainable Development Goals where there's a lot of opportunities for powerful human stories linking back to these indicators. So if you haven't done so already and you're trying to think of what kind of stories to share in your impact reporting, it'd be great to have a look through, and maybe you can pick for every global goal, what element of your business could be sharing a story on that aspect. Okay, which comes to level 2. Level 2 is data storytelling. So data is a really, really important tool for any organization that wants to communicate on their social impact. And as you can see here, it can be visualized in amazing ways. So I love this example of a data story. If India's land were divided into wealth, like half the country would own 1% of it. So it's this really powerful visualization of using data to tell a very impactful story. Because if you read a big long report about the wealth gap in India, it probably wouldn't capture your attention. But when you're scrolling on LinkedIn or Facebook and you see that image, it's like, wow, that's huge, right? And I think every company has a lot of information and data that you guys can use in your storytelling, in your reporting, but maybe you've just never thought about it before. So that's what this workshop is about. I just want to plant all of the seeds in your mind and give you a massive to-do list to go and experiment with all of these ideas and tools. I put here 2 pictures or 2 screenshots of a couple of tools that I use, like for example, the Google Data Studio. If you have a Google account, maybe play around with the Data Studio, see what templates you can create from your Google Sheets. Airtable is another one. Airtable is a software that's super useful to help try and find data and collecting data and stories from your organization that could be really useful. To go a much deeper level, for those of you that are running a tech company, maybe you have a CTO or you have someone that is really familiar with JavaScript, you could actually go even deeper and actually start doing amazing data visualizations like this one. For those of you that are familiar with climate change, Project Drawdown is an organization that has listed solutions for climate change. And you can see here, they've done a beautiful visualization about how every solution they have is linking back to the global goals. So it's a very powerful way to show that through the Global Goals 17, through partnerships for the goals, they're able to kind of cross and collaborate and really have this like massive impact. And those data visualizations are possible with a little bit of tech ability, probably not for everybody on this call, but it's good to know what's out there and to strive towards for the future. So if you haven't ever, if you are JavaScript, you're familiar with it, do check it out. It's a really, really cool library of options that you guys can use. Okay, now it scrolls back. Some questions were coming up before about like about the story arc, about being traditional, and I 200% agree. The reason that we build those different layers from the internal all the way out to the participating is because I truly believe that, yeah, great storytelling is about actually listening more than sharing. It's about building a community rather than just kind of pushing out content, right? And so this is where it's really about starting to build a community around your story. If you're a company that sells clothing, you're not selling a product. You want to build a community of people that aspire to support and become advocates for the kind of materials that you have, or the women that are making those clothes, the depth behind it. And so they really turn into ambassadors. So the best way to do that, we found, is really through finding partnerships, right? Finding collaborations. Maybe there's a company that is in a completely different industry, but shares the same purpose. If your purpose is to save water and you're a clothing company, maybe you can partner with someone that works saving water in the river, you know? And you can create these beautiful strategic partnerships and leverage off each other's storytelling capabilities to build these communities around your product and around your brand. This is the fastest way to accelerate and build a brand for a startup or a social entrepreneur that I know of, right? Tapping into audiences which already exist. So you don't even need to do any marketing, because there's someone out there that has already built an amazing community passionate about some obscure topic. I mean, with the internet, it's fantastic. Any topic in the world, there is someone out there that is building a community on Instagram to share pictures and to share ideas and to share everything. So you just need to find that, tap into that, and help nurture and grow and protect those relationships. So again, a little bit of a workbook here. If you want to do it, you could start thinking about what kind of partnerships you have and who you want to collaborate with, and what kind of story could actually involve your customer. So oftentimes we put them on the other side, but what happens when you open the door and you bring them in and you let them be the ones telling your story, wearing your product, talking about it, being your marketing department? Maybe you don't even need someone to do marketing because your customers are doing it for you. Okay, so I think I'm nearly there. I hope it's not too much information. I would love to answer as many questions as you guys want. I just have a couple more things to think about, a couple more seeds to plant. One is thought leadership. And for all of you, especially if you're a founder, this is really important. If you have ambitions to create global impact from a policy level, from a brand level, like you really want to change industries, start thinking now about how are you building your personal brand as a thought leader on this topic. And some people get really overwhelmed by this. They're like, oh, but I don't know what to do. Like I don't blog, I'm not a storyteller. But honestly, just by posting consistently on a platform such as LinkedIn or any other, you're going to be ahead of pretty much everyone, because not many people do it, right? So you can build thought leadership on your industry really easily just by being visible, right? And as a founder, it's your job to be visible. It's your job to get out there, let people know you exist, find partnerships that will help give you that visibility. So that's another maybe little seed that I want to plant for everyone here. That was a lot of information. So I just want to give a bit of a break, and I'll pick on a couple of people. Maybe you can share any questions that you have. Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to dive into deeper, anything else. So.
I have a question. Hi, Jacqui. And my question is, I would say both quite confusing when it comes to kind of data, and I feel just a little bit tired of drama in impact business. And when you say about, being very powerful and purpose, etc., have you seen examples of brands working around it? Because, everyone is being noisy and very important with their mission, and how to be impactful yet not aggressive, how to be in fact impactful and not making everyone feel bad again, that the world is collapsing, etc. Have you seen good examples in that? Thank you.
Yes, this is my opinion. This is not backed off data, but my experience for the last 10 plus years of running companies doing this is that negativity is disabler to action. So when you are negative in your stories, the world is going to die from climate change, or we need to act now because the river is polluted and plastic is going to destroy the world. It disables action from my experience. So the more positive and inspiring you can be in your stories, that uplifting, the more action that oftentimes you'll feel that the audience wants to be involved because they want to be involved in a positive movement. They want it. So I think that's one point, is can you position your story to be an opportunity rather than something negative? And the other thing is authenticity. I mean, a lot of people are really loud, but they're not authentic. So like the more authentic you are in your story, the more vulnerable you are in your story, you will differentiate straight away, right? You look at Pepsi that made this commercial. They had this horrible commercial of they made up a protest. It wasn't even a real protest to advertise Pepsi. And the audience was like, they're trying to be purpose driven, but it's painfully embarrassing because it's so obviously fake, right? And then on the other hand, you see other brands that actually do real activism, like Nike. People were burning their products in the street, but they were able to rally this kind of much more authentic because they actually empowered a lot of the people that they were working with. So I think authenticity is number one, and positivity is another one that's like super important. Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Sorry, Jacqui. So basically, I just wanted to add here. So we work with farmers, and farmers in emerging economies are usually portrayed like as really poor and have to deal with a lot of natural disasters and whatnot, like when they're from a country like Bangladesh. But for iFarmer, like from day one, we kind of portrayed them as not as like poor vulnerable group, but more like as heroes, because they're kind of producing the food for us. And that kind of helps us because we generate investment from people like you and me for those farmers. So we don't really want to ask them for the investment for just because the farmers are poor, but rather than these guys are producing the food for us, so they need more money and they need more investment. And that has really worked for us.
I love that. I totally agree. Yeah. Does anyone else have a burning question they want to throw out or statement? No? Okay, I'm going to jump into a cheat sheet. Let me know if you guys have any questions. As Songy said, I'm here for the next 10 weeks, so you can nag me all you want on social media. Feel free to tag me on anything. This is the most, it's quite boring to be honest, but it is the most useful cheat sheet that I've probably made about 10 years ago, and I'm still using it to this day, okay? So as ugly as it may look, if you guys can fill this out, it's a really helpful sheet for your team to understand stories from different perspectives of your business, right? So starting with your team, define your target audience. Are you talking about your team as in your current team? Are you talking about your team like recruitment, like people in the future? Like define that target audience. Who is the person in charge on your team for that? Okay, that's something that not many people identify. What is the objective? Is it to keep your team inspired, motivated? Is it actually to just share information because no one knows what the hell is going on? Like, what is the objective? Then having a really good call to action. And if you don't know what a call to action is, it's basically like, what do you want people to do after they have the story? If you want to go next level, you could also add how do you want them to feel, right? After they've watched it or listened to it or read it or whatever. A way to measure the success of it is really good. So having something numerical, like it could be a financial amount, could be like how many sales you get. It could be a number, like how many team turned up on time to the meeting. Just having something to measure the impact. Picking a platform. So knowing what your platforms are, like making a decision day one. All of your team communications is going to be on Asana, right? Day one, everyone has to use Asana or whatever. And then lastly, like that one line, what is that story for your team, right? That links back to your vision at that top row. And then doing that for every pillar of your organization is a really nice way to keep everyone aligned, everything consistent. Doesn't matter if you update it a million times, at least you like have this foundation. But most importantly, it links everything back to your vision. So it's a really nice little cheat sheet that, again, you guys can, in your own time, feel free to go back and use it. Customer B2B, any reason why not B2C? Yes, there's a reason. It is because I have a typo in my slide. Yeah, sorry. Your customers should be B2C and your partners or clients should be B2B. This is actually, it's actually interchangeable because some people won't have B2C, B2B. So like, this is why I share the slides with you guys. This is for you to use. You can update it and change it as much as you want. You might actually have different types of customers, so feel free to add a column. But yes, the customers should be B2C. Thank you for picking that up, Robert. Okay, cool. Any questions on this slide, or does that make sense? Give me a high five if it makes sense. Cool. All right, I think that's pretty much it. The last thing that I just want to share with you, again, I'm going to plant some seeds, is a potential calendar for some ideas to plant some seeds of what you guys could do for the next 10 weeks. So, for example, maybe next week, you could practice, like, what is your vision story? And maybe you could actually share a little vision story with the team. I'm going to be here for the next 10 weeks, and I'm happy to give feedback on what you guys are building and working on. Maybe you want to have a practice doing a data story. Maybe you want to do something to motivate your team. So I've kind of mocked this up as part of the handbook. Feel free to have a play. Feel free to have a look. You know, the Impact Collective team will reach out to you to be more specific, but I just wanted to, again, plant some seeds to let you guys play around with different ideas. More resources and reading. I love the Facebook's learning platform. It's really, really handy. They have a bunch of tips about how to make videos, how to use Facebook. It's a great resource if any of you guys are new to storytelling and outreach. So feel free to use that. I love free stuff. So don't have to go to uni. You can just go and study all of this stuff online. And I think that I am almost ready for the Q&A. I have one last little favor that I'd love to share with all of you guys, which is, let's see it, my survey, the super happy, fun, awesome survey. So I'm gonna share a link with you guys. We'll also send it over email. But basically, it's a little assessment that will take you through things like, for example, let me just show it to you 1 second. I'll just put joe@hotmail.com. Okay, and I go next. Things like, is there someone on your team already leading a comm strategy? Is there anyone on your team who loves social media? You know, do you have any clear communication goals? If you can run through this question, it'll probably only take about 20 minutes. It's pretty simple. It's all yes, no answers. But for the people that fill this out, you'll be able to actually get from us a really nice in-depth analysis of, like, where you could potentially need support, how you can improve, some tips and advice, and it makes, like, our job way easier to help you guys figure out what you need the most. So I will share a link, but we will also be sharing a link, I guess, with all of you guys later as well. Let me just make sure I have the right link, seeing as I've messed that up a couple of times today. And if you guys have any questions, or if you don't understand anything on the form, feel free to reach out. I will send it to everyone now. And I think that is everything. The 101 brain dump. Let's go back to my first slide to see if I hit my intention of, where is our agenda? Of making sure that.
Can I suggest something?
Sure.
I mean, since we are almost heading to the end, we missed out the breakout room. I think the team has a lot of story to tell. So if we have a time, can we still do the breakout, and then so team can share about their story to each other, or whatever assignment?
I would love that. Have we got it working now? Like, you can.
Yeah, I think Martha, figured it out. All good. Ready to.
Well, as the intention was the importance of storytelling, why doesn't everyone share? Let's put it in groups of 3, and with your partners, why don't you share what did you learn today as the most important thing that you need to do now? Now that you've had all of these seeds planted and all of these ideas, what is the most important thing for you? So let's break out in the group, and feel free to continue. You can ask me any questions on social media, on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and I'll also answer. But yeah, let's break it out.